I'm back with another video for Ophelia Talks. And today I am here with Jamie and we're going to have a chat with him. So welcome, Jamie.
Good morning, Anya. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you. So thank you for agreeing to this interview and for setting this up.
My pleasure.
And to get started, please introduce yourself and tell us all about who is Jamie and what do you do?
My name is Jamie. I am the sales director for our family business. The family business is James C. Brett, and recently we acquired Wendy Wools. We've been in the industry for around 60 years now.
So who started the company?
The business was started by my father. The business started in the early 60s. He was originally a rep for another yarn brand, and what he saw going round the various retailers was that he was a young kid. He was making a fairly small wage, but the retailers seemed to be doing very well out of it. And because of the nature of our industry, all being based within the Aire Valley, he was able to speak with the companies and he was able to buy their oddments and their waste yarn. He then bought a balling machine and he wound the big industrial units down into little ounce balls, and my mother sold them on Leeds Market.
Proper family company then?
A proper family company that started from the ground upwards. So one market stall turned to two market stalls, one in Rochdale, one in Oldham also. One balling machine turned to two balling machines, three balling machines, four balling machines. Then we bought a spinning company. And then kind of progressed to where we are today.
Right, so and how did you get involved? Because I imagine when your dad started, you might not have been around or might have been very small?
I have, ever since I can remember, there has always been yarn in my life. I can remember my father in the kitchen with pans of boiling water, steaming acrylic yarn. Most people won't know, but acrylic yarn goes through a process called relaxation, where the yarn gets shrunk with steam, and he would test over pans of boiling water in the kitchen. So
that's what you call a cottage industry.
That's where we started.
Starting very small, and look where you are now.
Yeah, we're approximately somewhere between 200 and 250,000 balls of yarn a week.
A week?
A week.
Oh my goodness, can you imagine that in your stash? Right, so what was the very first product that he then made? So you said he reduced the big bales into small ones.
Yeah, there were big industrial units. So you can imagine that a big industrial unit is absolutely no good to a domestic crafter.
No.
So the balling machines that he bought wound them down into ounce balls. And my mother sold them for, I don't know, it was back before decimalisation, so it was all in, in the old money. But one of the first yarns that he sold was a product called Henkelong nylon.
Right.
And that was actually a carpet yarn.
Yeah.
And it was very, very cheap, but we're talking about in the 60s where people were knitting because it was about affordability.
Yeah.
It was about producing garments that people could afford. Long before Primark and all these big chain stores where you can buy a garment for, literally just a few pounds.
Yes.
And throw them away. Back then, people needed economy. And people were, it was a very, very important part of
producing,
of keeping the family clothed. And the carpet yarn was incredibly cheap. And that's where we started.
Wow. So you've now obviously expanded to all these yarns that we see and that all the shops sell. Which one is your favorite product? Which one is your favorite ball of yarn?
I would have to say my favorite product would be Marble Chunky.
Yes, yeah.
Finding Marble Chunky with our production partners, we're all overseas now, that was the catalyst for our business. We managed to grow our business from what was really quite a small family firm, finding that product that we then sold all over the world just exploded, and it took the business with it.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's built up to now to where we've probably got, I don't know, 100 different ranges, something like that.
Yes, yeah, you know, having the one product that everyone likes.
Absolutely.
And then everything else comes along with it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So in the years that this has been, in the years of the company, has there been a change in preferences from the customers? So you said about the nylon, of course, that was because it was needed at the time, but then people started more for leisure. Do you see the difference in the products that are sold?
We do see a difference. I mean, it's a market now that is all about hobby. It's a hobby these days, and people spend money on the hobby.
Yeah.
And they like different products, they want different fibres. But at the end of the day, they want to be able to craft all the time. And we mustn't lose sight that means it has to be affordable.
Yes, yeah.
You know, it's fantastic having all these wonderfully exotic fibres, and there is a brilliant market for them. But people that want to craft every day need affordable yarn.
Yeah.
And that's where we fit in.
So, talking about that, my subscribers have come up with some questions.
Okay.
Because I did ask them, because I want to get them involved, obviously.
Okay.
And one of the questions was, who decides on the names of the colors? So we have like things like lime and lichen and blood orange and flamingo. Who decides on these colors? Is it you who comes up with these colors?
No.
Because that's what I've been imagining.
I am not creative enough for any of that. That's not true. We have a lady called Jill, who is our new product manager, and she will come up with the names. But we have an open plan office.
Yeah.
And the office is open plan for a very good reason, and that is so everybody knows what's going on, and everybody chips in.
Yeah. Okay.
So you know, it might be something that Jill comes up with, but if the other girls in the office all pull faces at it, then we listen and we do something else about it. It's not me. I'm not that creative.
So another question, and I think we know the answer already. Do you crochet? Do you knit? Do you do any yarn crafts? Let's put it that way.
As I mentioned, I've had yarn in my life since I can remember. The last thing I want to do when I get home is crochet, knit, or even talk about the stuff. Okay.
Which is fairly normal. So what are your hobbies?
My hobbies. For my sins, I like motorbikes. I like riding dirt bikes. I also have a few road bikes. And to be fair, Mrs. Brett is very happy if I'm covered in oil. She knows that's
when you're happy.
I'm happy, and I'm not getting up to anything else. So
there we go.
She's happy with that.
So does Mrs. Brett crochet or knit, or does any yarn?
Mrs. Brett, and it will happen any time now, will ask, "Can you bring me some yarn home?" And it's like a sixth sense that there is within our industry. As soon as my wife, who is not really a knitter or a crocheter, asks for yarn, because she's going to sit in front of the telly and knit squares of various different sizes, stitches them up. If it's a small square, stitches it up. It's a glasses case. If it's a big square and she stitches it up, it's a cushion cover. That's all she's interested in doing.
Right.
But as soon as she asks for yarn, is when the trade switches on.
She's got a sixth sense.
She's got a sixth sense, and she's got quite a large yarn stash as well.
I wouldn't expect anything less. There's Dirk laughing as well, honestly. Right, so we have a request.
Okay.
Or we have a situation, let's put it that way.
Yep.
Okay, so when you get us crafters, we've got our ball of yarn.
Yep.
We start pulling out the yarn.
Yeah.
And it always gets entangled.
Yeah.
Is there any way you could invent the yarn that doesn't entangle itself?
Right, okay. So the process of making a ball of yarn starts on the inside and works to the outside.
Yeah.
And what you're effectively trying to do is eat a Mars bar without touching the chocolate. So in theory, you start on the outside and work back to where where the ball was created.
Yeah.
I know that most crafters pull from the middle.
I pull from the middle.
There are a lot of people that don't, but a lot of crafters pull from the middle. But you're effectively trying to work backwards.
Yes, true. Yeah.
It doesn't start from the outside and work to the inside, in which case it would be perfect. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
So,
and I try not to move my balls around. Once I've started it and I've pulled it from the middle, it does work.
Yes.
Keep going.
That's right.
But once you start moving them about,
Yeah.
inside, there's the little yarn, whatever you call them, and it gets all entangled.
There is a bit of a trick which does help, and that's to leave the label around the yarn.
Yes.
If you leave the
it
label
does,
around the yarn, it does support the ball as the ball starts to try and collapse on itself.
Yeah.
But like I say, effectively you're working against how the ball is created in the first place.
Who invents the colour variations, the yarn variations? Who comes up with the colours?
We have as I mentioned earlier, we although we no longer spin in the UK, because as with so many things in the world these days, production in the UK of anything is very prohibitive. So we work very closely with our production partners in Turkey, who have a creative department.
Yeah.
And our ladies in the office, who have been with the business for a very, very long time, work very closely with their creative department. And that's the way we do it. But it's endless. The colour possibilities are endless. So there's always opportunity to bring something new.
Yeah. So you just said Turkey.
Yep.
So what is the journey of a ball of yarn?
The origins of your normal everyday yarn, something like Wendy Supreme, obviously it's acrylic based. It starts life as oil.
Yeah.
And it starts life, coming out of the ground in Iran or Iraq or wherever it is. And then it goes through various chemical processes where they drain off, they split the oil down, and you get petrol and you get diesel. And then you end up with a lot of other chemicals. And from that, plastics are made. Acrylic is effectively a plastic. And effectively with a ball of acrylic yarn, what you have got is some very, very, very fine strands of plastic that are then twisted together. So that's where it starts. But then it goes through a spinning mill process. From start to finish will be 3 to 4 weeks. So from them receiving the raw fibre to the balls of yarn coming out at the other end is 3 to 4 weeks. A batch size, the minimum batch size we can produce, so if we're making red DK, the minimum we can make is 3,000 units at a time.
So 3,000 balls.
That's the minimum.
Yeah.
I mean, we tend to work in 600s.
Yeah.
600 kilos, which is 6,000 units.
6,000 balls of yarn in one go. Okay.
So that's the sort of
So
scale
that's
that we
per
work on.
colour.
Per colour.
Yeah.
Per colour.
And then once they're made, they're labelled?
Yeah, they're labelled. These days they are automated. So the balling machines are fully automated. The labels are automated. They have overlookers who are there to spot small defects and this sort of thing. And we do our very best to pull out the defects. But if you think that in one ball of yarn there is 300 metres, so in a full packet there's a kilometre, and it will balling machine. Sorry, 3 kilometres. The balling machine will make 3 kilometres of yarn in a minute.
Okay, so those 10 balls that we, so we buy the yarn in a pack of 10 balls, so that's made
within just over a minute.
Wow.
So occasionally you will find a knot.
Yes.
It's just the nature of the beast. And, we do our very best, but there is absolutely no way that a machine operative can watch 10 balls of yarn being made at the same time and spot
within a minute. Every
single knot. So that's why you get a few bits.
I mean, to be honest, I don't mind. That's one of those things. You get a knot, I pull it out, re-knot it, and I crochet on, and then I sew in the ends. It takes seconds to do that. But I know quite a few of our subscribers get really annoyed with these knots. But like you say, that's the nature of what we're using. Of that's something that's there. That's just there.
I think there's. If you think about the scale of it, there is absolutely no way made that we could have a 300 or 600 kilo batch of yarn that was just one continuous strand that we wound 100 gram off, then another 100 gram ball, and then another 100. It's not practical. So unfortunately, there are joins in yarn.
never mind, we will learn to live with them. So generally my audience is in love with the yarns that I've used for certain projects, because obviously I am promoting them, I'm making something in them, and then they want to make it themselves as well. So I've used a lot of Wendy cotton with love.
Okay.
And they are wondering, will there be more colours for that range coming out?
There will be. As with every range, there's always newness. If you can imagine your yarn stash, sometimes your yarn stash, you can't get any more in it. We're exactly the same. Our warehouses, although they hold, what do we hold? We probably hold 300 tons of stock. So 300,000 packets of yarn. There's only so much we can get in. If we want something new in,
something's
got to go out.
Yeah.
And it's done purely on a numbers basis.
Yeah.
So, we obviously have the sales data. We analyse the sales data. Whatever's at the bottom of the pile, that comes out and newness comes in. And that's how we work.
Yeah, that's how it should be. Yes. Yeah. And same for Wendy Supreme, or have we got our colours there?
No, there'll be more Wendy Supreme to come. Probably into the spring. Again, we have to bear in mind that although the process for getting yarn through the factory is a matter of 3 weeks or whatever, the forward ordering system that we have to put into place is 6 months.
Yeah.
So what we order today, we wouldn't see
until
well into next year.
Yeah.
So it's quite a long and slow, laborious process. But yeah, there's always news. We survive on newness. Everybody needs something new. Crafters, as we said earlier, they're doing it for a hobby now, so they need inspiration. That's our job. It's our job to come up with something that inspires you to do something new.
Yeah. And also, that's what I do. I inspire my audience to make things with things that I suggest. So then again, when you put something new, we have something new, and then you can make something new, you know? So when you started at the company,
yes,
what did you start doing?
My father is a very old-fashioned way of doing things. And I'll be totally honest, I went back to sixth form to do my A-levels, and it wasn't for me. So I lasted nothing more than a couple of months in the sixth form. So I then left, and I started in the factory sweeping up. And my father is of such a mentality that, of course, I was living at home at 16 years old, but he wouldn't take me to work. Even though he started at the same time as me, I had to go on the bus. Yeah. Because that's how everybody else in the mill got to work. You go on the bus. So I used to go on the bus. The one thing he did allow me to do was, at home time, my bus didn't go until half an hour after the factory closed. I was allowed overtime for 15 minutes.
Ah, right. Oh, I thought he would take you home. No, you were allowed overtime.
I was allowed overtime while I waited for the bus to come.
So you didn't have to wait for that long for the bus.
Yeah. And I got paid 15 minutes for doing a bit more sweeping up. So I've swept up, I've been a van driver, I've been a mechanic, I've been a sales rep. We've done everything, and we wouldn't ask anybody else to do anything in our business that the management is not prepared to do.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And as a family business, that's great, isn't it?
It is. Well,
it's how it should be, really.
The one thing that I think speaks volume for our business is that the people that join our business never leave a business. They're there for life.
Yeah.
For instance, the warehouse team, they've been there for some of them for decades. The ladies in the office, we've got 2 ladies in the office who are in their mid-50s, and they came to the business at 16.
Wow.
And they're still there. They've left, have had the families, they've come back. It's just, we are nothing without our people.
No.
And so that is, it's probably more critical than the product. that we look after our people.
Yes, if you look after the people, everything else takes care of itself.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely.
There we go. Yeah. Well, everyone, I hope this was interesting for you, and I certainly have found out quite a few things about these balls of yarn that we use all the time. So make sure you use them from the outside in and not from the inside out like I do. Okay? Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. Bye, Jamie. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.